Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Well, today I know that there's a lot of news to get into, and we will get to it. But more importantly, we are having a food conversation that is just absolutely riveting. I want to welcome to the show Matthew Marsden, BlazeTV contributor and actor and producer extraordinaire, along with Jaco Booyens, of course, BlazeTV contributor and founder of Jaco Booyens Ministries, which you guys should all go check out. Yeah, so we were just talking about foods, and
you like oysters.
I hate oysters.
You love oysters.
I've tried oysters one time, and I will never eat oysters again.
We were talking about eating ants in Africa, chocolate-covered ants.
Yeah, I don't...
Yeah.
Okay, so I said, well, what do ants taste like? And they said, well, you don't really taste them. And I said, well, then what's the point? And they said, for the protein.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jaco said that an ant is the cleanest animal that exists. And like that kind of blew my mind.
Clean. It's actually... Look, John the Baptist ate locusts and honey. You want to eat a locust or an ant? Legs, locust, antennas, tickle your throat a little bit. The oyster just slides down.
It's like crunchy.
Crunchy, the crunch. Yeah, crickets. Rather eat the ant.
Or just like steak.
If you can,
and burgers,
middle
and
of Africa, get steak. We got you've been.
Yep.
We have ant hills that are 10 feet tall.
Yeah, they're huge.
Giant ant mounds above ground.
Oh gosh!
Right? You go in there,
find a way to get rid of the ants.
Get a handful of ants, man,
and eat them.
They do, yes. I don't.
This is blowing my mind.
I ate the ones that were marbleized in chocolate.
Yeah.
They do eat it by of course the Bushmen, of course, yes, by hand.
Did you ever see when I can't remember what it was now, but he ate one of those grubs that they have in South Africa, and it's a big fat like grub like that. Yeah. It's that I'd have a problem with, because like Sarah, just think about this.
We ate a worm called
pops in your mouth.
No.
Look, you got to look up the Mopani worm. The Mopani worm. I wish we could pull it up on the screen. The Mopani worm is this fat, thick worm.
I already
eat them. They love them.
I already hate it.
You should order here some.
Can you get them here?
No. Fly them in. They don't exist here.
It's probably like illegal.
A Mopani worm, it's this big white fat. I mean, South Africans that watch this know that they eat it a lot, actually.
Have you eaten one?
No. No. I'd rather eat the ants.
What do you think I am?
What do you think I am? Not. You think I'm African or something?
Well, I've missed you guys. It's good to have you guys back. I will say, I just on a serious note, Matt, I thought, you are Catholic, and today, obviously, the Pope passed away, and I don't know a ton about the religion, so I was happy that you were here to at least shed some light on it from a position of authority.
Some light on it.
Yeah, from a position of authority.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Pope Francis has been a very polarizing figure because he was a Argentinian socialist, basically. I mean, I think that you can look at it like that. He was a product of where he grew up, and so, over the past few years, I mean, I would get many of my friends who are not Catholic call me up and they're like, Matt, what is he talking about? What is he going on about? And I'll be like, I don't know. He's just coming out with stuff. We don't have to listen to him. And I think this is the most important thing that people have to understand who don't really understand Catholicism, is that we don't have to listen to the Pope unless he talks ex cathedra, which means from the chair of St. Peter. And the only time that there's ever been anyone that's spoken ex cathedra is only twice in modern history. So, we always say that for us Catholics that it's one of the reasons why we say that the Catholicism is true is because we've had all these bad popes over the years, and the church is still continued. So, I mean, although it's funny because if you look at a lot of what he said, I mean, listen, I remember when he said, you shouldn't be reproducing like bunnies. Remember that? That was one of the first ones. And I'm like,
he was definitely very controversial in what he said.
Look, this is...
Wasn't he like open borders too?
Well, yeah, he's a socialist. mean,
Yeah.
he's a complete socialist. And remember, Francis was picked out of obscurity when the cardinals, when they meet. And actually, this is a very contentious time right now. And it's interesting because those on the inner circles knew that he was at the end of his days. They knew. The timing of all this is so unique.
Yep.
A couple months ago, a movie comes out by Ray Fiennes, The Conclave. If you look at The Conclave right now, at the process of how a pope gets elected, it is probably the highest order of politics. The amount of politics that's going on right now around the Vatican and the process of selecting a new pope and the bribery and the things. Look, he was a very controversial guy. This is the same pope that wanted to change the Lord's Prayer.
To what?
Yeah. So lead us not into temptation, he felt like needed to be removed. Look it up. So when you have a guy that says, listen, I'm going to change the Lord's Prayer, I'm going to do things, he was a socialist, but it's also the sign of the times. What is going to be very interesting is who is going to be the next pope. And I think my prediction is it's going to be more the same. I don't think it's going to be a revert back to something more conservative. I think you may see a double down into something more woke.
It's possible. The one guy, the Italian that they're talking about replacing him is just as liberal, but there's an African cardinal out there that's very, very solid. And by the way,
I think we have some of the candidates.
I do want to say this as well. I mean, although
so are you talking about Cardinal Robert Sarah?
No, but Sarah would be amazing. He's too old. I think he's 79.
Well, the current pope was 88.
Yeah,
but he's dead. I'm not bringing up the obvious, but he's dead.
But when did he become pope? How long had he been pope?
Maybe 15 years, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And you know what? The two popes before that were very, very solid, very smart. Benedict was an amazing theologian, one of the great theologians, actually. So, we had a good run, and I think sometimes people say, you get the pope that you deserve, and certainly there was a lot of confusion. But saying that, a pope can say stuff, but what matters is what he does, right? So he actually did say, he doubled down saying that there shouldn't be abortion. He doubled down on, by the way, I'm not a Pope Francis apologist, right? But he said he doubled down on no contraception. He doubled down on no divorce. So he also doubled down on priestly celibacy. So all those things are things that could be considered to be conservative positions. So I think that we had popes before that spoke with great clarity. Pope John Paul II was an amazing pope. He had a bit of a blind spot when it came to the clerical abuse. Benedict he looked like the emperor, from Star Wars, but he was very, very clear on his teachings. So it could go that way. It also might go to one of these more conservative. I think was Cardinal Burke up there on that list? Because he would be amazing.
Let's look.
Like to get the first American pope.
I just want people to know it's politics, though. It's not like it's decided. There's rounds and rounds of voting. It was just interesting to me that the Vatican, and nothing about the Catholic Church, it's kind of like the Chinese. Nothing about the Catholic Church does not pass through the Vatican. It all goes through the Vatican. It is a hierarchy that flows up. It goes to the Vatican. So to release a movie or allow for Hollywood to release a movie where the Pope selected is transgender.
Yeah, but the church doesn't have any say in that.
It doesn't, Matthew. But I will tell you, at the same time, there's several films being produced today. There is a restructure of power. The Vatican is a country.
Mm-hmm.
It's a country. And Europe is under duress. Europe is in shambles. And when I'm looking at it, where's the power play going to come in Europe to say, this is what stability looks like in Europe? And I think they're going to try and do it again through the Vatican. I just believe that.
Italy's been the first place that's kind of pushed back against the wokeism. I mean, it would be very nice if the Catholic Church would take a leading position on that and be more of a more of a voice. Like I said, I mean, for me personally, and I have two different camps, both of people that I know, both that are Catholic, and both are actually very, very conservative. And there are some that turn around and say, well, listen, and by the way, these are conservatives, right? Real conservatives. And they're like, look, we need to be more compassionate to people. They understand that kind of ministry. And then on the other hand, there are others that say, listen, he's trying to stop the Latin Mass. He's trying to, push this agenda. But again, you have to look at what has actually happened because of his stance. Nothing. Like nothing has changed. So, and look, I mean, has he appointed a bunch of liberal bishops? Yeah. But again, as Catholics, we go like, I've just zoned him out. I don't have to listen to him.
Look at Catholic nations like South America, where Catholicism is strong, and what the people are saying, they're leaning conservative. I mean, those countries are going, Argentina, they're going strong. The people now, I'm not talking about the leadership as well, but they are asking. So I hope it flows up.
Hopefully.
I hope it influences the kind of pope they select. I don't think the clergy is there. I think they want more of a progressive, but the people want more of a conservative.
100%.
Matthew and I are very seldomly at odds. But for me, you understand, I'm a Christian. My Savior is Jesus Christ. I don't pray through a pope. I don't pray.
I don't pray through a pope.
I know you don't. I know you don't. But
Catholics don't pray through popes.
St. Peter, Mary, there's traditions that I think they're going to try to reestablish. If you look at, we just did a show with someone where the Catholics that came over right after the founding fathers, they were named themselves fit-in Catholics. And if you look at that, there's a certain position that I think the Catholic Church lost that it's going to try to regain. I hope they regain a position of bringing stability to Europe through what the people want, a conservative point of view in a position for the Catholic Church versus my opinion of Francis was a more liberal. I know he said certain things, but he was
he was. I mean, there's no. I said he's an Argentinian socialist. I don't debate that. But again,
last word on this.
Okay, it's just the same as when you're looking at America. Do you dismiss America because we have Joe Biden?
Of course not.
Right. So America will endure. The church has endured for 2,000 years. So.
Yeah. Okay, Control, can you tell me if we've got a live read here? Because I've been flying blind this whole time, which is fine, but I just want to make sure to
just carry on talking.
Sponsors, that would be fine. All right, Relief Factor. So Relief Factor is there for those of you guys who you live in constant pain and you just think that that's your life now. It doesn't have to be that way. Everyone at this table has tried Relief Factor with great success. Matt has done it, okay? I'm saying it like we're all taking drugs. It's not a drug, actually. It was developed by doctors because they were tired of giving their patients drugs that were making them loopy. This is an all-natural supplement. Jaco has had success with it. Jaco's mom has had success with it. I've had success with it. It's an all-natural anti-inflammatory that's very, very potent. Is that it's typically the cause of your pain in your body. So if you get rid of the inflammation, you get rid of the pain. Go try their 3-week quick start. All right, it's $19.95, and you've got nothing to lose except your pain, because they've got a guarantee. ReliefFactor.com is where you can find that 3-week quick start over at ReliefFactor.com. Well, more news on all of these deportations that President Trump has decided to do, which I would just like to say the American people voted him in to, of course, accomplish, among many other things. And you've got now the Supreme Court that over the weekend temporarily blocked President Trump's deportations that he, of course, was doing using the Alien Enemies Act. You had Justices Alito and Thomas dissenting, were the only dissenters, which, it's like I want to be very careful with my words here. I don't expect Supreme Court judges to make their decisions based on any sort of loyalty that they have for the president who puts them to that position. But it does feel like the opposite is happening, and they've got it out for him. For whatever reason, we definitely know Amy Coney Barrett does, just based off of her reaction whenever she sees him. It's like a visceral reaction that she has. But they had this dead of night ruling, 12:55 a.m. Eastern on Friday, and they paused the deportations of all of these gang members. And Justices Thomas and Alito dissented, saying there was no hearing, there was no lower court ruling, there was no opportunity for the government to respond, there was no explanation provided. And Alito really put them on full blast, slamming the majority for violating the court's own Rule 23.3, which requires seeking relief in lower courts first. So you've got this bizarre turn of events happening with the Supreme Court. And so that what that means is Kagan, Sotomayor, Jackson, thank you, plus Coney Barrett, Gorsuch, and Kavanaugh.
Mm-hmm.
Am I missing any?
Yeah,
Tom and Chief Justice Roberts.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All of them, all agreed
7.
that the highest executive in the entire country should not have the ability to remove illegal criminals from our country. That's wild. That is wild to me.
Is it just me, or when that ruling came down, well, number one, it's completely wild. And no, we don't want some allegiance between a Chief Justice and a president, but good night. Gunning for the guy, because the other side don't play that way.
Mm-hmm.
No.
There's allegiance. I mean, you think Sotomayor and Doyle, I mean...
You're right. I guess that's why it bothers me.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They are blatantly...
1,000%.
Blatantly on brand.
Yeah.
They do not break brand.
Right.
You think Ketanji Brown? That woman sat there and told you she doesn't know what a woman is. I mean, come on. In her hearing. No, but didn't it strike you as a gross undermining of the judicial system, but more so giving rights to illegal immigrants that Americans have in lower court? Your right to be innocent until proven guilty is an American right. You're an American citizen. That's not a right for some Australian that ends up here, or a kid from Guatemala. You don't have a First, Second, Third Amendment. You don't have, these rights. You're not a citizen. And so to say that go to the lower courts and go make your case in the lower courts are not here for them.
Yeah.
There's a president of the United States that's elected by the American people to say those who are not here, especially violent gang members, by the way. I loved it when he tweeted out the tattoos on the guy's knuckles. He's like, oh, he's not a gang member. Well, what are these suckers?
Yeah. They're like, we're not sure if he's a gang member. He's just got his knuckles tattooed to have MS-13 on his freaking knuckles. But I'm sure that's just a coincidence.
It's
very common, Jaco.
What other rights are being extended then? If what other rights are being extended to, and then you look at states like California, every right, Social Security, the right to vote, it goes on and on and on. And so I just remind people, we don't have a lot of time left under this administration.
You're not wrong.
This feels like a play for time. This just undermine him, block him, do this. I mean, it's blocking and tackling at this point.
Yeah, I think we have a very interesting issue here. And my take on it is that, as you said, Sarah, we have the left does what the left does, right? Like, they are lockstep with the powers that be, the people that are doing these social justice moves. And then what we have is we have a bunch of intellectuals. And this is where I think the problem is. The amount of times I've sat down and I've seen intellectuals look at something. They did this with Obamacare, don't forget. They look at something and they go, oh, we're so smart, so we're going to look at this and there's a different way. I'm interpreting it this way. Look how smart I am. It's almost like, if you like, the Instagram generation, right, where I've got to do something to make myself be more important. And I think they look at these things, because think about it, all these are they're apart from Thomas, and we know what he was like before, but the others are relatively new, right? They're within the last few years, right? But the older guys are like, no, this is the way it is. And it feels to me like the other justices are trying to show how smart they are. I don't even think it's to do with not liking Trump. I do think it's to do with we are more elite than you are. You think you know, but we know better. Because we see this all day long, like all the time, the snobbery towards this, like, oh, you think that deportation is just about this, but let me tell you, it's way more complicated than that. And we're seeing on almost every issue. You know, what are your qualifications coming here, Pete Hegseth? You know, why are you up there? We need a general. Again, it's all about credentialism and elitism. And they don't like the fact that, I mean, by the way, don't forget, what did Trump just go after? Harvard University.
Yeah, it's the establishments. But look, you're right, 100%. The elitism is there, and it is in the self-proclaimed elitism, right, of who they are. But it's always at the expense of the American people.
Always. Always.
Right.
You don't see the Supreme Court fighting for an American citizen. Like, come on now. Justices taking position from the bench. Yeah, it's a slippery slope. It's a gray area, man. The law's supposed to be blind, and there's still a law. We have immigration law that passes through Congress, right? Congress sets immigration law. There's rights that this president, or any president for that matter, apparently the previous guy could open the borders and let anybody
he wanted,
in,
he could.
But this guy can't get anybody out.
Right.
Because the brand that they're leaning towards is not actually a pro-America, pro-Constitution, pro the laws of the country brand. And we have to come to grips with this. 7-2, that's a landslide.
That
And
is
you know what?
scary.
Do you remember when we used to say, well, they might be pressured into it by the threat of violence? Because that was one of the things we thought about a few years
Comes
ago.
with the job territory, though, buddy. Don't take the job. Don't be a
100
Supreme Court justice if you can't take the hit in the kitchen.
100%, but we haven't seen that right now. No. It's not like that. They're in the most pro-American, pro-America first era that I can remember. Yeah. And yet they're doing something like this, which is completely off tone for what we're going through right now.
Well, and I will say, the most frustrating part of all of this is, I mean, I agree with you guys, the courts and the judges are a problem. The judges that Congress could be doing something about, obviously they can't do anything about the Supreme Court judges. Well, I guess technically you could impeach, but that would be a much larger process. Congress has been out nearly 50 of Trump's first 100 days. And so they could be, they could dissolve the whole court districts, right? By repealing the act that brought them into existence. They can limit jurisdiction, including that of the Supreme Court. So there are things that they could be doing that they just aren't. And that's the most frustrating part of it, is that I agree with you. The Democrats are completely tone deaf, that they're like, we're gonna get on a plane and fly to El Salvador because this poor illegal gang member has been thrown in prison in the place where he came from, which is so hilarious. It's like, he sent him home. You're welcome. Yeah. But it's not just the Democrats. It's also these Republicans led by Speaker Mike Johnson, who have had plenty of opportunity now. Next week is going to be 100 days. Next week, they've had plenty of opportunity to say, not only did they try to destroy President Trump's reputation before he came into office, they are now trying to destroy his legacy and the agenda that he is supposed to implement, that Americans just voted him in to implement. And that Congress still won't do anything. What the hell did we give them power for in the first place?
Sarah, because just for a second, hear me here. When I say we don't have a lot of time left under this president, I want the American people to understand, and we're in it, right? Congress is past this term already. They're playing for their positions for the next term.
Yeah.
And they're not willing to rattle the cage that could potentially maybe cost them a seat by doing the right thing now, by actually throwing down. So now they're playing softball because it's just you blink. We are not 18 months and we're campaigning again.
I know.
For president.
I know.
They're playing for themselves. They're not playing for the American. You have a president that's for the American people. That is throwing down. I mean, like I've never seen anybody throw down in my life. This guy is risking it all. He is all in on America. All the chips are in on American citizens, the American way. This guy is taking in ping. He's taking on international trade all over the place. And you're asking Congress, could you maybe just help him out for a second? They can do a lot, Sarah, in the lower courts.
Right.
They can do so much. This never has to go to the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
You can actually have a judge in the lower court just says, send him home. It never goes to the Supreme Court. Heck, you don't even have to the 5th or the 9th Circuit Court. It's the corruption in lower courts in this country that undermines the Constitution. They're not pro-American. So you end up in the Supreme Court with this debacle now. I'm telling you, somebody better step up, whether it's somebody in Congress or Mike Johnson, maybe. Somebody better step up and say, hey, we need to think about helping POTUS.
It ain't going to be Mike Johnson. I mean, it may be someone that forces Mike Johnson's hand, but it ain't going to be Mike Johnson. I mean, we've been saying that for a very long time now. We've known exactly who Mike Johnson was. And for whatever reason, again, I'm a very, obviously very firm believer in, okay, I believe that President Trump has a plan. He was the one who wrote the art of the deal. Like, I'm just going to trust that he knows what he's doing. But sometimes he does these endorsements, like for a Speaker Mike Johnson. And it's like, why? Why? He's weak.
Well, I mean, look, what I like to look at is what I can do about the situation. Yes. Like, what can we do about the situation? Because we can look at them. We can't, as far as Trump's, he's gonna pick some bad ones, right?
Sure.
He's gonna pick some bad ones. But again, I know this sounds bad and people think I'm complaining, but how many times have we spoke on this show about people being engaged and involved in what's going on? The person that can put pressure on Mike Johnson is you.
Yeah.
And is us.
Yeah.
And that's what we have to do. We keep having this mentality like, we said this the day after you were here as well, the second day after he got elected, we were like, pedal to the metal, everyone cannot let up. Yeah. Everyone has to keep on. We have to keep on putting the pressure and not let off, right? Because we do this as conservatives, like, we won. The left is like, we won. We're working. We're going to do even more. And we kind of go, we won. Okay, let's go back to our lives. Mm-hmm. Can't do that. We've been doing this for 30 years and the left never sleeps. They're literally vampires that hang upside down.
It's their religion.
And it is that this is
their religion.
It is their God. They never stop. And we go, well, and I'm sorry, look, I have a bunch of kids. We all have children and lives. But the argument, look, hey, listen, I've got a life to live. You want to go back to what we had 4 years ago? You won't have any life to live because we know where it's going. You have to say, we have to be engaged. Now, that might be subscribing to The Blaze, clicking on Sarah's show on YouTube, clicking on Jaco, clicking on mine. These things are force multipliers so we can get more involved. And it's down to the people. Of course, I'm not talking to the people that are watching this because they're all watching this so they know what's clued up. But this is why you have to go around to your next door neighbor, go to your friends and go, hey, listen, we got to get organized here. We got to keep on. We got to put pressure. We got to call our congressman, congresswoman, whatever. We got to put pressure on. We got to elect Ken Paxton to the Senate. We've got to do all these kind of things. We cannot let up because they are, we said it right. Why did they go all quiet after Trump was elected? They were shocked. And then they were scrambling. The left was scrambling for the first few days because they were like, Trump knew we got to come in and we got to work so hard. We're spinning their head.
Isn't it ironic that we sat here and said the number one issue is the border for 2 years going into the election? And what's the number one issue today? The border. It's still the border. What are we really saying? We're talking about what's at stake here is the sovereignty of this nation. Mm-hmm. What did Europe lose? We talked about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not a hypocrite. When I said Catholics on the ground should put pressure onto who's going to be the next pope to get a conservative pope to stabilize Europe. American citizens have to put pressure on their local state representatives, to put pressure on their national representatives, to put pressure on Mike Johnson. We can. In the House today, they can put unbelievable pressure on Mike Johnson. The members of the House can pressure him tremendously. They have to feel it from the people.
Yep.
It has to come from the people, or they will just sit like fat cats in DC and live a completely different life. Different healthcare system, by the way. They don't even have the healthcare you do. Do you know that? Do you know that they've got a slush fund for sexual offenses to make it go away? Hush money. They don't live your life. Yeah. You've got to put pressure on them at a local level, and you got to push it uphill.
Yeah.
So that they feel it so much so that they start panicking about their own future because they play for their own future.
Yes.
Yep.
This is why there's no term limits.
Right. Yeah. And there ain't ever going to be one. Trust me, as much as I would like to see that happen, that's sort of a conflict of interest for them. So there's not ever going to be enough of them to vote for it. But God bless Ted Cruz for continuing to try. I know he's the one leading that charge, the only one. Yep. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We'll be back with more. First, we want to thank our sponsor, MDHearing. So MDHearing actually just recently cut their price in half, even with all of the inflation craziness. And if you guys maybe you've got some hearing loss, if you do want to solve that, because I get it. Maybe you're married to a yapper and you're like, I just kind of want to be partially deaf. I get it. Okay. But if you want to hear what's going on around you.
Pointing at us.
If you want to hear what's going, I will not confirm nor deny that. If you want to hear what's going on around you, check them out. I was floored when some of my loved ones started having hearing loss, and they wanted to continue hearing me. So they were like, cost thousands of dollars for a hearing aid. And I was like, you're kidding. That's not affordable for the average person. Well, MDHearing, they've got their Neo model. It costs over 90% less than clinic hearing aids. And they're very, the technology is great. It fits in your ear, and like it's not big and bulky like they used to be. No one's ever going to know that it's even there. So if you want high quality, affordable hearing aids, go check them out over at MDHearing. You can go to shopmdhearing.com, use promo code Sarah. You can get a pair of hearing aids for just $297. They're going to also add in a free extra charging case just for listeners of this show. You can go to shopmdhearing.com, promo code Sarah. So Senator Ron Johnson was on with Benny Johnson earlier today, and I think I don't know that it's going to be picked up by mainstream media, but he kind of disclosed what I think would be a pretty big deal within the federal government, which is that the feds are they have been caught now destroying a whole bunch of files that we have been wanting to get to the bottom of for a very, very long time. Here's that.
We have thousands of recordings versus one Zapruder film. It's not just the senator that has a record of email communications, for example. So, I mean, the Dr. Morin's email, we didn't get that from the agencies. We got that from a university that email was sent to. So there's a lot of people, we gather information from all kinds of different sources, and we cross-reference, when we're asking for certain communications. If we get it from one party outside of the government and we don't get it from people within the government, that's how we have evidence that they're either covering something up or they've already tried to destroy evidence. But again, in today's electronic world, it's hard to destroy, particularly electronic evidence.
But they're still doing it. But you were able to find cases of them doing it.
Yeah, well, again, my guess is they are. And again, the fact that there's nothing responsive to our subpoena with Tom Shimabukuro indicates that, yes, he absolutely destroyed evidence that we had sent letters, preservation of record letters to repeatedly to the agencies not to destroy this evidence.
So it's Epstein files, 9/11 files, COVID records, the JFK assassination, and you have got, listen, that's not a bridge too far for me. We talk about this all the time, especially with, it was something that I will admit that I never really considered. I never considered the type of problems that you could have by having an election in November and not turning over the administration until January.
Immediately, yeah.
What? I understand that they're maybe not literally immediately, maybe not that hour, right? I get it. But why would you give that administration that much time to cover up their tracks, to delete evidence, to destroy documents? I realize it's a little bit harder to do these days, as he mentioned, but are we going through all of these lengths to make sure that we are finding out the bottom of not just COVID, not just, 9/11, we should have found out a very long time ago. The Epstein files, JFK, you have RFK, you have who the hell the assassination attempts, you've got Ryan Routh and Thomas Crooks. We don't know very many things about these people. So it's like, to know that this type of thing is happening within the federal government, like where is Pam Bondi? Where's Pam Bondi on this?
It's happening as we speak. It's not just that it happened in those, in the 2 months, and
right. It's still happening.
And it is wild. Why can he not take office the next day? There's no reason. They turned the White House in 6.5 hours. Is it? They move someone out and move in painting and art on the wall. No. Take office the next day. When do you see a CEO get fired and they go, you know what, you had 60 days to clear up your tracks and cook the books and then the next CEO will come in? It's ridiculous, but it's happening today.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
Today.
We still have not replaced
This is what back to your earlier comment of this whole kumbaya, it's all good now and everybody is on brand. No, they're not. No. They're not on brand. There's factions inside that is absolutely against the American people still today in law enforcement. And I've said this from the beginning. The Epstein material's gone. The stuff the American people want, where you can actually take it to court and prosecute the buyers of the children. Not just give me the names on the list. A name on the list is, you can't prosecute a name on a list. Well, he was on the airplane. Does nothing. The real meat and potatoes that's needed. They've had 4 years to destroy this stuff. Before Trump got elected. And then after he gets elected, he pardoned half his family the week before Trump takes office, for crying out loud. There's such crazy things going on. I don't know where Pam is.
I know. She's on Fox News. That's where she is. She's doing hits with Sean Hannity. I know our friend Jesse Kelly, who, by the way, check out his show tonight. I am on it along with my wonderful colleague Liz Wheeler. I guess they decided to do like a Blaze, a Blaze special on Jesse Kelly's, on Jesse Kelly's show. But it's what I was saying to him as well. But it's so frustrating when you look at, again, to Jaco's point, we don't have very much time. And we've got an administration who, I don't fault President Trump for this because it's impossible to get rid of all of these people overnight. However, we need to be blowing and going. Like, if you're not loyal to the cause and the agenda, you got to go. Yeah, it's not personal. It's just business.
Yeah, I think what people don't truly understand is that if you were, look, Benjamin Franklin said, didn't it, I've given you a constitutional republic if you can keep it.
Yeah.
America was only ever going to be taken down from the inside. And I think people can't comprehend this. I see this in the UK, right? In the UK, they're importing hundreds of thousands of fighting age males. And the way that the majority of the people in Britain look is they go, oh, okay, they're migrants. You might not like it, but they're migrants. It doesn't matter. What they don't understand is just because you stop making war with them doesn't mean that they've stopped making war with you. Mm. If America's going to get taken down, and we have enemies all over the planet, if America's going to get taken down, it's never going to be taken down militarily. You know that we know this. It's by far the strongest military on the planet. Can't touch it. But if you want to take it down from the inside, that's the way it's done. And until we get into this mentality that there are people that are actively trying to destroy the United States of America, I know it's very difficult for us to comprehend, but what these people are doing is trying to take down the United States of America as it stands, or as it has done for however many years since its founding. They want to destroy it. They want to, Barack Obama said, right, I want to fundamentally change the United States of America. He's done a good job, right? The only way, and I believe this is why Elon's doing what he's doing, this is why Trump is doing what he's doing, the only way to do this is to massively shrink the government, like massively shrink the government. So what you're seeing is every single, to our point about the judges stopping this from happening, the federal judges stopping this thing from happening. No, you can't fire those people. Can you imagine working in a job where you can't get fired for doing something wrong or doing something bad? Well, here's the reality of it. You heard about the subpoena, right? Has anyone ever been punished for not following a subpoena?
Yes, Steve Bannon.
That's all you need to know, right? One guy, right? There's never anyone being held accountable from the left, ever. And they know it. So all they're doing, to your point, is they're waiting it out. They're waiting it out.
So look.
Last word.
Doge goes and collects 230 million here. Cut 2 billion from Harvard. Cut. Corruption. Thank you for cutting the funding. Who's investigating the corruption? Who's prosecuting the ones who were corrupt? Nobody.
Yeah.
Thank you for cutting the funding. Thank you for not funding Planned Parenthood and who knows what else. But there was corruption, right? So who's going after those who were corrupt? They're still sitting in government.
Yep. You're right.
Got to go.
And they've got to go. Well, they've got to go, and they need to be made an example of, because otherwise, to your point, it will just continue happening. I mean, their prison time needs to be served for all of these crimes, actual criminals. These are the actual criminals. As much as they wanted 91 indictments, 34 felony counts against Donald Trump, these were the actual criminals the entire time. And there needs to be some sort of vindication and retribution for that. I don't care if that sounds harsh. It's just the truth. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We will be back with more. First, I want to remind you guys, if you have not yet donated to Preborn, this is like the easiest thing that I'm going to ask you to do today, because it's very, very simple. Preborn Ministries they are going out and they have this network of clinics that are typically like right next to Planned Parenthood clinics. And it's the difference couldn't be more stark. At Planned Parenthood, they're going to welcome a scared woman in with an unplanned pregnancy, and they're going to be like, you definitely should abort your baby. Preborn's network of clinics does something much different. They actually welcome this mother in and they say, you know what, we'd like to show you the life on ultrasound. We'd like to show you this baby, because it is a baby. It's not just a clump of cells. And when the woman goes into a preborn clinic and gets that ultrasound, you are twice as likely that woman is going to choose life. So all they're asking is, ultrasounds cost money. $28 sponsors one ultrasound, and that could be the difference between life and death for a baby. How many ultrasounds can you sponsor? How many babies can you save? I'm asking. I get it. We're coming out of the Biden administration, so times are tough and everyone is strapped. But can you sponsor one ultrasound? Maybe two? You can do that by going to preborn.com/Sarah. $28 is the difference between life and death for an innocent life. Preborn.com/Sarah. So when you look at how this country is shifting, there is very clearly one major white demographic that is still voting Democrat, and that is white college-educated women. And on things like DEI, which the majority of America has said, that's crazy, we should not do that. In fact, you know who said we shouldn't do that? We shouldn't judge people by the color of their skin was one of the greatest civil rights leaders this country has had, which was Martin Luther King Jr., who said we should judge people by the content of their character. Now, all of a sudden, they're like, no, actually, we should hire and fire people based off of their skin color. I thought that we had moved past that. But apparently, according to white women, we have not. And I want to play this CNN clip here demonstrating that. Watch.
See this. White women with at least a college degree, the only group of white voters that really kind of is on the left politically, aligned with progressive causes, democratic politics. Give you an example here. It's that DEI question, right here that we asked about in our poll. We had two big statements we read to voters. Basically, do you want to continue DEI programs, or do you think they should be ended? And again, look at this divide here. White men, no degree, end it. White men with a degree, end it, they say. White women, no degree, end it, they say, by double digits. And then white women with a college degree, completely different by a nearly 40-point margin.
Wow. So unmarried women also favor Democrat by plus 37%. Every other group, including married women, lean Republican. But I'm just going to go out on a limb and say maybe white women should just stop going to college because it's not doing them any good. It's not giving them any damn sense.
Well, it's on brand because they have absolutely targeted white women on college because they understood that they needed to get white women to be on brand with abortion, on brand with self-exploitation, on brand with hate your country, on brand with DEI, because they go to these indoctrination camps, these institutions like concentration camps, which is colleges today, and they've targeted white women. It's also white women that ran the DINK, double income, no kids movement. Don't procreate anymore. It's through white women that we've plummeted below 2% of birth rate. So if you're a white girl on college, you should know that you're a target by the radical left to indoctrinate the dickens out of you, for you to become as woke as can be and run their playbook for them.
Well, also, if you are the parent of a white woman, then do not let your kid go to an Ivy League college. You've got to send your kids to, I've said this over and over, to Christian, and I mean real Christian colleges that aren't woke. And the funny thing about this is, are they unmarried because they, which way is it? Are they voting Democrat because they're unmarried, or are they unmarried because they're voting Democrat because of the way they approach things? I mean, it's white.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yeah, white women have been sold. The feminism has just sold such a lie. The majority of older white women that are miserable are because of these policies, and then they kind of double down on it, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah, no, that is a good question. Like, are they unmarried because they're insufferable and no man wants to marry them because of the way that they view the world?
I'm going to vote yes on that.
Yeah, I think
Gotta
right.
be. It's gotta be.
Yes. When you're 22 and entitled and you don't need a man to open a door and you can do it all yourself, and because you're now, the guys go,
right.
see ya.
But which goes back to, let me just say, it goes back to the point that I was saying about the justices, about the fact that they think that they are so much smarter than you. The elitist attitude that these sociology majors come in and they try and tell you the way the world is, it's ridiculous. And actually, there are more women that are happier, that are saying, do you know what, I'm not going to college now because I don't need this. I actually want to be a mom. And there's nothing wrong with that. And nobody should look down on those women at all. Like, it used to be the pinnacle of being a woman is being a mom, and it is.
It is. They're finding out that's very sad without a family. So thanks, guys.